The candy flip. It's one of the most popular combinations of psychedelics that people take. Since the 90s, ravers and psychonauts have been taking a mix of LSD and MDMA to create a different kind of experience. You'll get all the trippiness of acid with the loving warmth of MDMA. So today, we'll be talking about all the benefits and the power of the candy flip before we embark on our own journey. Now there's two different ways that people go about a candy flip. It's either people trying to fly as high as possible just to have some fun, usually taking everything in sight, probably at a festival type situation. Or the alternative is a more controlled trip setting, where someone wants to delve deeper into the psychedelic experience. Taking MDMA can help avoid the possibility of anxiety or a bad trip, therefore allowing you to delve deeper into the experience. So the two sides of a candy flip is either pure fun or self-discovery. Now before any trip, one of the most important things to do is prepare yourself correctly. You'll want to prepare your setting, clean the area that you're going to be tripping in, stock up on anything that you might need, food, fruit, snacks, water. It's also important to keep in mind how long the trip will actually last. Acid usually lasts around 8 to 12 hours, MDMA lasts about 4 to 6. So another important part of this is the acid is going to last a lot longer. This means that you should take the acid first and try and line it up so both substances come down at the same time. So all that being said, it's time to prepare. Alright, so I've just come back from the shop. This is what I got. Bang, bang, banana, bang, bang, very big bang, bing, bong, rapjaya. So when you're on acid, eating is definitely possible, but it can be a bit more difficult. When you add MDMA into the mix, it gets even harder. And here's a pro tip real quick. If you're on MDMA, never go for anything dry. One time I had a pan au chocolat very early hours in the morning after a long night on MDMA. Fuck, that shit was a mess and I could not breathe. So yeah, don't go for anything dry. You'll need to drink twice as much water just to get it down. But yeah, I've got some Lucozade, some electrolytes. I got some tomato soup right here. I got 2 bananas, a red pepper, some feta cheese because I like feta cheese. And then this is the biggest tip I can give for anyone who's going on a trip or trying to burn their nut off. These fuckers, red grapes. These shits are just like sweet hydration pockets. Absolutely immaculate, you cannot go wrong with these. Fruit is always the easiest thing to consume when you're, tripping or on MDMA. I've also got some black olives, fuck with these. And then just a simple form of protein if I need it. Tuna, and I'm not gonna eat all of these of course because I don't want to get mercury poisoning. But then also for extra hydration, big 2-litre bottle of water. This should do the job. Now before we get started with the trip, I just want to go over a few things. First of all, how to find the right setting. You always want to be somewhere comfortable. Most likely your room or your house is going to be the best place for this. But trips in nature also have their own sort of charm to them. But if you are going to trip in nature, make sure you're somewhere that you know where you are. Not some big random forest and like some nature reserve or something. Unless you've got the, the skills and the know-how of how to navigate that. Basically, you just want to be able to get back to civilization if anything gets weird or goes wrong. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is the time that you actually decide to trip. Now, me personally, I love tripping at night. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the lack of people around. You can go for a nighttime walk. But it's just got a different vibe to it. But some people might prefer to trip in the day. One thing to note though, if you trip at night, you're going to be up for quite a while. It's definitely going to disrupt your sleep schedule. So if you want to get a decent night's sleep, a day trip could be better. But me personally, tonight, we're doing a night trip. Now one other thing before we start, the dosages that I'm going to take tonight. So I'm going to take 200 UGs of acid along with 100 milligrams of pure MDMA. Now if I was doing this without recording, I might take a bit more acid, maybe 300 UGs. But if I did that and tried to record it, it's probably going to get very messy. So I'm going to keep it at a more manageable level. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So without further ado, let's transition into the trip. So the time is currently 7:30. The tab has been on my tongue for about 4 minutes, as you can see by this timer. I recommend everyone put on a stopwatch whenever you take anything for tripping wise, because especially with acid, it lasts a long time. You want to know how long you've been in it for and how much longer you got left. But yeah, basically my plan is to take the MDMA at about hour 4, maybe 5, and then hopefully that should all line up perfectly with, coming down at the same time. But yeah, since it's about 7:30 now, I'm going to be high until about 7:30 tomorrow morning. So there goes my sleep schedule. By the way, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good night. There is some rain in the forecast now that wasn't there earlier, so I'm hoping that that doesn't interrupt things too much. Either way, I will be spending a bit of the night inside and then coming back out whenever I feel like it. I've got a good few activities to do. along with just, you know, sort of chilling, stuff like that. Might do a bit of meditation at some point. But yeah, all I can really do now is just wait for everything to cook in. It's going to take around 40 minutes maybe closer to an hour. But yeah, it's always best to not actively, you know, try and feel out the effects that are coming on. Just let them come on, let it all, you know, take effect. But yeah, not much to do now other than just wait. So we're at about the 1 hour mark and I'm starting to feel the effects. Are my eyes big? They're getting bigger. I feel like you can definitely notice from like a first person perspective, like once the acid starts to kick in, like your field of vision widens as your eyes get wider. They've definitely still got a bit of growing to do, but it's also light out, so that's gonna, you know, affect the dilation of them a bit. Definitely starting to get some slight visuals in the peripheral. Bit of object breathing, bit of stuff like that. I feel like this is gonna get super wacky, super fast. Presenting yourself on acid is always quite a task. So it's been a couple hours now, just over the 2 hour mark. Just been sat out here thinking. One thing that I find that's very interesting quality of acid. It decreases certain parts of the brain activity, but in doing so it also increases the connection to other parts. But basically what that allows the brain to do is remember a lot more things, if that makes sense. But yeah, I've just been thinking, it's been like a year almost exactly, I'm not too sure the exact date, that Wheast episode 2 came out. Now if you guys are new around here and you don't know about my Wheast series, it's like it's almost like the Big Les show in the way that it's independently made, but it's completely different than the Big Les show because it's like live action. It's inspired by a whole bunch of different things, Fear and Loathing being, you know, one of the main inspirations for it. But yeah, just chilling out in the forest, it's really given me a lot of like nostalgia on, and just I've been thinking about how much has changed since I was doing that episode a year ago. I mean, the episode was literally recorded with one like really cheap phone tripod. And we recorded the whole episode of that all on my phone. And now, I don't know if you've noticed, but the quality of this video much better than the other ones because we have a new camera. I've got more cameras coming as well, and that's all for the Wheast episode 5 shoot. But yeah, it's really interesting because it took about 3 weeks to make Wheast episode 2. You know, all the other episodes took so much longer, but Wheast episode 2, we had 3 days of actual recording. So, you know, over the course of 3 weeks, 1 day out of each week we'll be recording episode 2. What did I say, 3 or 2? I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to talk about Wheast episode 2. I'll talk about Wheast episode 3 later. But yeah, it's crazy how little we had to make that episode, and it still looks really good. I mean, there's a lot that I would change now. I mean, you can still see a lot of like the microphones and some of the shots and stuff like that. We didn't know at that point that it would become such like a popular series, but nonetheless, I was gonna make it. But yeah, one of the craziest things about Wheast episode 2 was the jump from like how we did episode 1, like the quality difference between episode 1 and episode 2 was incredible. There was such a jump, and then again from 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4, and now we're 5. We're doing it again, but it is going to take a lot longer. I'm not expecting to have it out until the end of the year, but it will be the longest episode yet. The best written, best acted. There's just so many hoops and hurdles to go through to try and make something like that fully independently. That being said, if you guys do want to help us out, there will be a GoFundMe in the description, which I'm going to update because I've not updated it in probably about a year now. But yeah, there'll be a GoFundMe in the description if you guys want to help support the project. But yeah, we're about only a couple weeks out from actually starting the recording for it. We've just been getting all the pieces in place, trying to get all the cameras and funding for all that. But yeah, it's all coming along. But yeah, the weather is sort of starting to change now. So I don't think I'm going to head in soon, because I'm pretty sure it's going to rain. It's gone pretty grey, a bit windy, and I think it's going to rain. So it's been a good few hours now. We're getting to the later parts of the night. I just wanted to take a second to talk about the intention of a trip. So whether it's mushrooms or acid, if you're using a trip to try and get benefit for self-discovery or something like that, it's always important to set an intention. Because if you're trying to have a trip for some sort of self-improvement, if you just go into it with no plan, nothing to sort of think about, you might get some benefits, but it's not going to work as well. And that being said, you don't always need a massive intention going into a trip. It could be something simple, or it could be as simple as you just want to have some fun for that night. So when it comes to the trip I'm on today, my intentions going into it were sort of to analyse what has happened over the past year, everything that's brought me to this point, what I could do better going forward, what went wrong, and what went good. So as you can see, I'm in the old bar, the old set from Wheast episodes 3 and 4. So I'm going to be chilling in here for a few hours. I've got a few stories to tell you. But first, we are 6 hours, can you see that? 6 hours and 17 minutes into the trip. So that means it's time for a little bomb. So when it comes to MDMA, it's really not something that you should do alone, and it's really not something that you should do often. Once in a while, it's alright. But what makes this, different to just going crazy with it on your own, playing games, sitting in your home, whatever, is the intention, which is why the intention is so important to trips like these. It sets it apart from just randomly taking a bunch of different substances and taking the substances with a purpose. But yeah, the MDMA has now been consumed, so now I'm going to wait for that to cook in and we'll get on with the rest of the night. There's a slight chance that it may have already started taking effect. Now MDMA is another interesting one because it can be used for fun, like it usually is, parties, raves, festivals, stuff like that. But it can also be used in a very therapeutic way. I mean, there is such things as MDMA therapy, and they're really good for treating treatment-resistant depression. I do find it mixes with acid really well because you get all that, the depth of a trip that you want from the acid, but without it being as heavy. But yeah, it's quite strange being back in the old studio. Usually this is out of commission until winter times. But every once in a while I'll come back in here, and it hasn't changed much since I've last been here. There's still all the things we had. That's the whiteboard up there from Wheast episode 3, the Broman's lab scene. Of course, right here we've got the numbers left over from the brainwashing station that we set up for Broman Guy. So I think when I was working in here, I was working in here for a good 6 months straight over the winter, and this place changed so much. There's like the early versions of the place where we used to have, so there's this big table here. We used to have that down there, all the computer setups. You can see that in Wheast episode 3. Wheast episode 3 was crazy actually because we had to rebuild the place for every time we wanted to do a scene. Basically, every scene that we were doing was sort of a different setup and stuff, and we'd section off bits of the room to make it look like a different area. So one thing to keep in mind whenever you go on especially an acid trip, is focus is very, very strange. It's easy to lose focus on what you're currently on. It puts you in the present so much, so it's hard to, I was saying something, but I lost my train of thought. Hold on. It was something about being present. Basically, it's really easy to lose your focus. Acid is great for depth and introspection, but it's really easy to just forget what you were being deep and introspective about, which is why it's really good to record yourself. Now, I don't mean always like on camera, something like that. Even just writing things down when they pop into your mind, so that way you can remember where you were and go back to the thought. Yeah, I hope this video's alright because it's very hard to keep track of what's happened and what's going on. I mean, any video that's someone recording themselves in psychedelics is going to be messy, but I'm hoping that I can string together something with all the footage. But yeah, the MDMA is definitely taking effect nicely. It's not too strong. That's the thing. When you're doing it, if you're doing it like how I'm trying to do it, you don't want to be taking bombs every 2 hours or something like that. You just want one clean dose, and that way you're also not going to have a crazy come down. So, it's getting pretty close to the end of the trip now. It's been a few hours since I last recorded anything, but yeah, it's been a good time. I've just been sat, chilling, thinking about a lot of things. One of the things I've been thinking about is why I do these videos. What is the purpose of them? And that really is just to sort of help people, guide them along, give them the information that they need to be safe whilst navigating these sorts of things. But also because these experiences, when used correctly, when used in the way that they're supposed to be used, it can have amazing, profound effects. The amount of people
dealing with depression and all these other things, these can be solved with certain substances. But then you have the flip side where if people fall down the wrong road and take the wrong substances, then things can end very badly. And that's sort of what we're trying to do. We're trying to navigate that line and try and keep people on the right side of it. But yeah, a lot of what I've been thinking about has just been sort of leading me to that point, just to remind myself that this is why I do what I do, making these videos. A lot of people ask me, how do I know a lot of the stuff that I talk about? A lot of it is a lot of research that I put into, learning about these different things and what they do and what they can do. But, there's also a lot of actual experience with these things. To be knowledgeable, you need to have both the practical experience and also the research. They kind of go hand in hand. But one of the other things that I've been thinking about is how I can also navigate that line correctly and not fall on the wrong side of it. Because I definitely made some mistakes over the year. Perhaps taken some things I shouldn't have taken, this, that, or the other, But yeah, I really just need a reminder of why it is what I do. If these words are making sense. If you understand me, are you following? Basically, part of what tonight has been me almost trying to rediscover my initial mission when I set out to start trying to help people, with all this stuff. It's basically just been a reminder of me to make sure that I'm staying the course. It's all great helping other people out and giving them the good advice, but it means nothing if I don't take the advice myself. There's definitely been certain times and situations over the past year where things definitely took control over me more than I had control over them. And these are things that I would, even in my own videos, advocate against people doing. But, human nature, people are going to do them at some point, even if they know that they're good or they're bad. But I definitely feel fortunate to have been through that, to be on the other side of it now, and to be able to also use that knowledge to help other people avoid getting in the same mistakes, or even potentially ruining their lives. But yeah, it's getting to the end of the night now, I guess. Yeah, the sun is about to rise in like 30 minutes. 15 minutes. So if I walk out that door, it's going to be bright as fuck. But all in all, I think that was a great trip. I feel like I've come back with a lot from it, and I think that the candy flip has definitely allowed me to be more comfortable talking about my own issues and stuff like that. Because ultimately the principle of the whole harm reduction channel that I've been building is to help people, to steer them away from bad substances and point them towards the ones that can benefit them, and then teach them how they could use them for their benefit. But there's definitely been too many times where I've completely ignored my own advice, basically. But yeah, this trip with its intentions and going the way it did helped me figure out the path that I should be on, and the message that I still need to keep on bringing to the people. And it's essentially just me wanting to make the world a better place in whatever way that I can. So that's what we're going to keep doing. And this trip has sort of just realigned me on that path. Now hopefully I don't go astray again. But yeah, next time you see me on the camera will be when I wake up, and then we will talk about the integration and analyze all this footage and see if we can make something that makes a bit more goddamn sense. Recently, I've been stuck, struggling to make videos, caught up in a lifestyle that goes against all my principles. I've been trapped in guilt for choices I had made in the past, drinking to numb myself of the reality that I created. Some days get dark, and on those dark days all I can see are my failures. It's an overwhelming sense of never being able to do anything right. I feel as if I've lost all direction, and I consider giving up. But then I see the light shining through the trees, I get reminded that what I do, what I've built, it makes a difference. It helps people. I've always tried to help other people, but I never took the time to help myself. Now I can see that even just my attempt to do good was a beacon of hope for the people who needed it. You can never know how much you've helped someone even if they told you. And that's the reason I keep going. No matter who you are or what you do, I guarantee you've made a difference to someone, even with the smallest action. This world can be dark and full of pain, but if we all try to lift people up when they're down, we can make this world brighter. We are all a beacon of hope to someone, so keep shining as bright as you can. This trip helped me find myself again, the person I lost last year when things started getting dark. It reminded me of what's important, and that what I do can make a difference for the better. This journey had been something I was needing for a long time, and that is the power of a candy flip.
Oh, fuck.